Hey, what's up, everybody? It's JayViper here, and today I want to talk a little about Ubisoft and all the issues that are going on there because it's possible that Ubisoft is actually completely cooked. Talk about their stock issues, their internal investigation. There's some developers that it seems like that are talking a little bit behind the scenes. It's all pretty interesting, and it's all leading to one thing, and that might be the end of Ubisoft.
JayViper is awesome. He's so good looking. He's got the crowd in awe.
As some of you may or may not be aware, Ubisoft launched an internal investigation to try to see what's going on with their failures, and I guess they're promising drastic changes. Now, what comes of that remains to be seen because the question is, will they be honest with themselves in this process? Because we know the problem. We've been telling them what the problem. It's them forcing DEI into games. It's woke ideology just running rampant. People are not interested in this, and it's just being rejected entirely. But we'll see. We'll see what they do at the end, right? So Ubisoft canceled their Tokyo Games Expo appearance, and they announced a delay of Assassin's Creed Shadows. So here we see Ubisoft delayed Shadows until February 14th, 2025. So happy Valentine's Day to anyone who's feeling like giving this one out to their loved one. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's not going to be any good. It's going to release directly to Steam. So we'll see if that's something that they start doing consistently and they more or less just say that's enough of their Ubisoft platform. And maybe they just try to use Steam a little more, which would make sense. This has worked for them in the past, right? Here it says the decision was made after considering players' feedback and an illustration of our player-centric approach. So it is interesting that they've done this with Shadows because we know Outlaws was a failure, and we're going to get into that here in a sec as well. So that may have really scared them into making this decision. And speaking of Outlaws, they're actually going to be bringing that to Steam on November 21st. So that will probably help with the sales a little bit and bump that up. But I don't foresee it doing a lot for them because that game is in a bad place. And I don't know if that's enough time to really fix the issues with that game. Because as anyone knows who's been on this channel, I played this beginning to end. And that game is an absolute disaster from beginning to end. There's very little where there's not a problem. And that's not good. So sales numbers. We can see that they were softer than expected. Now, this was the announcement from Ubisoft, which means it was probably much worse. And let's not forget that they lowered their expectation for Outlaws going into the release, and they lowered it to like something like 5 million units. So that means it's even less than that. This game did not make them money. This game did really bad for them. So if we head on over to Metacritic, we see that the user scores, this is 2,300 people have put in a score, which is pretty good. We can see a 5.4, and you know what? That's a little more reflective of the game. It just feels unfinished beginning to end, and 5, honestly, might be a little high. It's probably more like a 4. That game is a real bad game. So the CEO of Ubisoft was saying, our second quarter performance fell short of our expectations, prompting us to address this swiftly and firmly with an even greater focus on player-centric gameplay first approach and an unwavering commitment to the long-term value of our brands. He announced the company plans to launch a review. Beyond the first important short-term actions undertaken, the executive committee, under the supervision of the board of directors, is launching a review aimed at further improving our execution, notably in its player-centric approach, and accelerating our strategic path forward or toward a higher performing model to the benefit of our stakeholders and shareholders. This, to me, is him saying the right things, where he wants to please the players, and by pleasing the players, you will please the stakeholders and shareholders. The question is, again, how honest will Ubisoft be when they actually get into it and find the problems in the company? They have to be honest with themselves in order to actually make the changes that are going to be required. Then he goes on, and see, this is what I'm talking about right here. He's already being dishonest with himself, right? He concluded by claiming the company does not have an agenda to push, despite its commitment to diversity, inclusion, and accessibility on its website, as well its apparent illegal mentorship program, which discriminates against men, among other policies and actions the company has taken. Their mentorship program does not allow for straight white men to be a part of it. I cannot grasp a company, especially the size of Ubisoft, creating a mentorship program that's exclusive to a certain race or sexuality. It's very strange. So the fact he says there is no agenda, there absolutely is an agenda. Without a doubt, they have an agenda. So he's, again, not being honest with the public, not being honest with themselves. Can they fix anything if they're not being honest with themselves? I don't think they can. And this is why I think Ubisoft is cooked. And then he says, finally, let me address some of the polarized comments around Ubisoft lately. I want to reaffirm that we are an entertainment-first company, creating games for the broadest possible audience, and our goal is not to push any specific agenda. We remain committed to creating games for our fans and players that everyone can enjoy. The thing is they aren't, because they're taking that little group and they are making games for a very small group of people. And we know that. So it's not a broad audience. In fact, they're making sure to cut out the broad audience. And I feel like this is a major issue with a lot of developers right now. And again, here's the stock. It's not looking too good. I mean, it was just 221 yesterday, or 2 days ago, and then 231 yesterday. I mean, this thing has been on a roller coaster for the last 6 months. I don't know how they're going to rebound this. I mean, with the delay of Shadows, they have to have a fantastic launch, huge, amazing launch to rebound from this. And I don't think that's going to happen, because they saw the pre-order numbers for Shadows. They knew how bad that was going to be, as was being reported. And I, again, want to bring this up. We know Shadows was low. We know that Veilguard is below it, right? From all the data we can see. So are they going to delay Veilguard as well? Not Ubisoft, obviously, that's EA. But EA really needs to do something with that game as well. So when I talk about them being honest with themselves, I'm going to go to this now. Okay, at that Park Place, Ubisoft developers reportedly reveal company brushes off legitimate criticism as toxic gamer talk and DEI policies have led to brain drain. So alleged Ubisoft developers claim that the company either ignores legitimate criticism of its business practices and games or brushes it off as toxic gamer talk. They also claim that the company's DEI policies have led to a loss of talent in both technical expertise as well as creativity. And I think we've seen this in real time where they really, I mean, they aren't making good games right now. They aren't. What we've seen in the Shadows reveals shows like poor animations, a lot of questionable decisions on what they're even making. I mean, they've used a fraud to basically base Yusuke off of. I mean, this is a company that I just feel like is just throwing things against the wall, hoping something sticks. And on top of that, with Outlaws and the way it's shipped, just being poor on every level, they really do definitely have a talent issue. So this does ring true to me. So this comes from YouTuber Legendary Drops. He spoke with a number of Ubisoft developers and specifically asked one how Ubisoft internalizes and discusses general criticism from players and the rest of the industry, whether it's a repetitive design agenda-driven content or predictable games. This is interesting because the developer responded, at a high level, they rarely talk about it. At a project level, they brush it off as toxic gamer talk. And as Asmongold correctly pointed out in one of his videos, Ubisoft is filled with toxic positivity that prevents growth. This is such a nail on the head situation where we've been talking about toxic positivity for a while now, how it just doesn't really add anything to a discussion. If you're not allowed to be critical of something, it can never be fixed. So if you're working with people and there's no feedback, well, nothing ever actually drives forward. After being asked about Japanese gamers sharing their own criticism of Assassin's Creed Shadows, the developer stated, the criticism hasn't been talked about, and Ubisoft only issued demands that we mustn't engage with discussion on that topic publicly. That is crazy. They can't even talk about this to anyone openly, and if they aren't talking about it internally, then how do you fix the issue? We did see this with Firewalk Studios and PlayStation with Concord, right? When they released the trailers, people were like, what is this? This looks terrible. And they brushed it all off as toxic gamers. They just don't like anything. We're making a great product. And then released with astoundingly horrible numbers and sales. And as we all know, within 2 weeks, they pulled it back and refunded everybody. Here we go, right? So not only did a Ubisoft developer share that the company ignores the criticism it receives to its own detriment, But Legendary Drops also asked about Ubisoft's commitment to diversity and inclusion in its workplace. The developer shared, so far, those initiatives had no impact on the team I'm part of. However, it's clear that some topics are taboo. What happened is that now people end up meeting with HR for trivial stuff because some are reporting it for harassment. So this is a toxic work environment. And in toxic work environments, nothing can truly be accomplished because people are always more worried about their little personal bubble than actually what they're making. And they become very focused on protecting themselves and having to be comfortable at all times and not actually working on the product instead of getting in with people and working together, which naturally there's push and pull there. It looks like they're ignoring that and trying to avoid that at all costs, and then are using HR to become that push and pull to just create a really bad environment, and we are seeing it in the games. When asked how this changed the editorial direction of the company and its games, the developer stated, the editorial direction and overall mindset shifted from boys club to safe content. Reaching for playing character K in Star Wars is the perfect example of this. The idea to have a beautiful character such as in Baldur's Gate or Uncharted is met with distrust. Safe content also leads to limited opportunity in the gameplay side. Even for Star Wars, we had to work with Disney, which would have shut down most attempts at depicting a true criminal underworld with cruelty and drama. Yeah, so that's an interesting point. These are both interesting points. One, with the Disney thing, yeah, you can't have her like shooting the animals and robbing people left and right. So it looks like they were limited there with Disney. But up here, this boys club situation, right? So you have a pendulum. Over here's the boys club, and it's swung all the way the other way to no boys club. So you can't even have a beautiful woman. So this definitely echoes what we've been saying, where they made Kay look like this on purpose. This is by design. This is not them doing a poor job at making her. As we can see, like they did fine with Erodian and all the other creatures, but when it came to making the women in the game, they did a poor job, and this was purposeful. I mean, just look at this. This was on purpose, okay? And this is what they want us to see, was this picture. It just sounds to me that Ubisoft is totally messed up right now. The management system's bad. The people working there are toxic. Again, this comes down to, can they fix it? If they're honest with themselves, they can. They're going to have to blow a lot of people out and replace people and go find talented people to work there. This is a huge undertaking. But again, they will not reach that point if they aren't honest with themselves. And it's going to be painful. It's not going to be simple. It's not like the next game we get is going to be good. This is going to take time to fix. And I don't know if they have the time to bounce back from this. Let me know what you think about this. Do you think Ubisoft can get back to their form? Like back in the AC 2 and 3 days? Can they get there? Can they make another Black Flag? We will see. I really don't think so, but maybe. I'm hoping for the best because this used to be a really great company making great games that stood out and they were iconic. I just don't know if we're going to get there again. Do me a huge favor though before you leave, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so I can see you on the next one. Love you, mean, and peace. Bye, everybody.
He's owning every game.